Gents, I do believe we're back after some technical difficulties. Do me a surprise, the technical difficulties on the stream. Do me a favor and type 22 if you could still hear us. Do me a favor, dear listener, type 22 if you can still hear us. And once we're sure you can hear us and the MC is back, then we'll be ready to rock and roll. What's up, Sadie?
Oh, hey, I'm having a little bit of trouble finding ShadeCrown Awakening's lyrics.
Hey, Perk.
Oh, it's The Awakening.
Yeah, I hope it makes it there too. I like that the stream is early. Yes, we are back.
Yeah, a lot of times we can't do them early because there's so few people that shoot, I think these are broken.
Why?
Hello?
All right, guys, commercial time. We shall return.
1,000 miles away from me. All right. Let's do this.
Get your song reviewed, dear listener. There's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You buddy, 125 gets you. You do that 3 times and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft. Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed.
And a child shall lead them.
Okay, guys, we've got a stream, a DJ stream from the big homie, Controller of Minds, as you see up there. If you, dear listener, would like to know how to be a DJ, well, we'll let you know at some other point. Having said that, the first song in this review...
Right, let me just read his little thing here. The first 3 are all songs from albums that ended up on my top 25. Well, this is his first stream ever by himself, so this is his overall information. First 3 songs are all songs from albums that ended up in my top 25 album list in 2021. The winner you've already reacted to, Ghosts of Atlantis, Third Pillar. The fourth and the last one is a special in that I dedicate it to my late grandfather, father's father, who died 5 years ago at the age of 96. Whew, 96. Old was his moon, his circle complete. There is, however, an overarching theme throughout all the songs. Perhaps you'll figure it out. It is also the reason for my chosen logo, the attachment. I've been careful about selecting only non-official videos. Okay.
Message me the logo.
I shall. I shall. If I see it here.
Okay, and we have all the lyrics. Do you have the lyrics on the thingamajiggy?
No, I couldn't find. He might have sent it to me just now. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. Not the lyrics, but the picture. That's so funny.
All right, guys. So when you become a DJ, there's so many things that you can choose. Don't worry about that. I got the picture. I'm in his thing. So when you become a DJ, you get your nifty little picture. Well, that didn't work. I have to download it. You get your nifty little picture on the side that represents what the stream is about for you. Whoa, that's a pretty intricate.
That is so cool.
The passage of time, it looks like.
Yep.
I really got to focus on these lyrics. Did you get the lyrics down?
Let's see if he sent them. He sent a new message, so perhaps.
Here, click on lyrics. Okay, I got him. Okay, so the first song is Solitarian by ShadeCrown, and we've got the song right here.
Wait, no, it wasn't supposed to be
Or
Solitarian.
the Awakening, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Awakening. The Awakening by the bad ShadeCrown. Let's go. Spooky. Hey!
Myself right now.
Oh, very strong opening
Yep.
from DJ Controller of Minds. So this is that, you know, like European melodic death metal with with some synth on top of it, which I like synth if it's like Schultz, like used sparingly, which they did. They used it sparingly. They didn't make it. It's not like, like too much synth. I feel like it's techno with guitars, whereas this one was metal with synth. Yeah, and that's what I like because I like the metal shit. Very strong, chuggy riff. Yep. And the riff that followed the chorus was. I was looking at the comment section. People were saying, "Man, this is a sad song." I mean, obviously, you can see the lyrics right there. So, lyrically, it's a sad thing to behold. But then when the riff on the chorus, was minor key. It was minor key, and it was sad, but it was fast paced. So it was kind of like you don't stay in depression kind of thing. Very, very interesting. These guys are from Finland. And these guys rock, man. A very, very strong opening. Very strong opening.
I thought.
What did you think sonically?
Sonically, it was very interesting. His vocal style took a little bit for me to get used to. But then once I had moved into the understanding of where the direction of the song was going, then everything kind of just fell into place. Like even at the beginning when he said, "I despise myself right now, but there's nothing I can do," it didn't feel like it like rhymed with anything. And so I was like, what's happening here? And but then as the song continued on, like sometimes maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not, but the way that like it wasn't really rhyming or the vocal style and stuff, but then once you get into what the song's about, it's like, well, you know what, that all makes sense whether or not he planned it or not, that you would do the song that way.
The other thing is, I'm not sure English is these guys' first language.
Probably not.
Which is always one of the craziest things to me is that when you speak the dominant world language, you know what I'm saying, like you don't really appreciate how amazing it is, one, that people can speak your language, and two, people can sing your language. Actually, singing is actually probably easier than speaking the language because you have the music to kind of help you.
Yep.
But to make music when it's not your first language, holy smokes. Okay, so lyrically... So again,
it's a very relatable song. I think
I'm kind of proud of myself because I picked up on this. You see, there's like time, there's like a clock, and then there's like a highway. I wonder if Controller made this himself or if he saw this on a whatever you call it. But either way, we were just in an escape room.
Looks like an album cover.
We were in an escape room in which we did horribly, and it was about the passage of time and things like that.
We really did.
So it reminded me of that.
This song had the passage of time as part of it, but it's that, that focusing on, once again, I'm tormented by these poisonous thoughts, by 1,000 shadows that lurk in the deep. In the ocean of mistrust, I want to disappear. I despise myself right now, but there is nothing I can do. It has taken control, never wanted it to be this way. I have lost myself again. Forgotten sorrows, anger, and despair. Suddenly I recall it all too well. Silenced echoes of a past life. I've lost myself again. When this song was going on, I honestly... There's a certain homeless person that, I see around town, and I wonder, like... A lot of... They have stories, Where were they? What led them to this situation? And, sometimes things are out of their control, but sometimes things are in your control and you made decisions to put you in the situation that you're in. And then there's the whole regret that goes along with that. And when he said, forgotten sorrows, anger, and despair, suddenly I recall it all too well.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. Like, you and I have this kind of running conversation where you say nothing takes you by surprise because it's always in your mind. Like sad things that have happened in your past or whatever, like it's there. So nobody surprises you. Like trigger words don't trigger you because you don't push something and not think about it.
Yeah.
Where I'm not like that. I'll push something so far from my my direct consciousness that something will happen, and all of a sudden it reminds me of that, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it can, that can be its own.
Well, the thing is that, and we were watching this again yesterday, is that the brain, the mind, whatever you want to call it, which at this point, I don't even know what anything is anymore, to be honest with you. But from my vantage point, it seems that your mind does that already.
Pushes stuff?
Yeah, like you don't remember everything that happened when you were like 5.
No.
And you
I don't remember barely anything.
And nobody remembers all the trauma that they felt in their life
right.
at once either.
Right.
So I was listening to this this guy on Christian radio one time, and he was saying these horrible moments would pop up in his mind, like, from his past. And he was saying, well, it didn't happen yesterday, and it didn't happen the day before. So why did it all of a sudden randomly pop up? And he was saying, that's because God wants me to deal with this specific fragment of this specific painful period of my life. And so he said, oh, okay, well, now it's time to deal with that thing. So my point is, your mind, or whatever that we think consciousness is, already suppresses that stuff. And then it'll bring it up to you, in pieces, for you to deal with it in pieces. So when we actively try to suppress that, the mind is like, yo, I already did that. And now it's time for you to actually, engage with it and deal with it and engage with God with it. It's kind of similar to what you were saying in that Jordan Peterson clip where Peterson was talking about.
I was literally just going to bring him up.
Go ahead, Sid. We're probably talking about the same thing.
He was saying something. Well, I stopped thinking about what I was going to think about so I could hear what you were saying. So go ahead.
Well, it's like, where do these thoughts come from?
I do remember. He
Go ahead.
said he was talking about how like that there's a part of your consciousness that knows what you need to move from the current place that you've kind of found yourself stuck in. You yourself know how to move from that place, but sometimes we're unwilling to do what needs to be done. And so there might be something that kind of just keeps popping up. And he was saying, like, this thought comes out of nowhere, but he couldn't really understand where the thought comes from. Is it like a portion of yourself? Sometimes your own thoughts surprise you. Why does this happen? And, he kind of threw out some answer of what he thought it was. But the idea that you kind of know.
The void.
Yeah. That's one way of explaining it.
Which I completely understand.
Yeah, why he would come up with that. But that there's a certain thing that I feel that for me to get, I think you're either on a journey of getting more healthy or getting more sick. It's one or the other. And there's one thing that I feel like is the next step on me, like, growing. And for some reason, it's not a very difficult thing, but I keep finding myself refusing to do this one simple thing. And so today I was like, for whatever reason I keep avoiding this, I'm not going to avoid it. And instead I went and did this thing. And I'm like, now I have to consistently do this thing and create a new habit about this thing. But he's just saying, like, that you kind of know. And obviously as Christians, we believe that God is kind of whispering that into the consciousness of people of what you need to do to move forward. And I don't even know if that's true in all cases, that people know. Or maybe you have this thought to get help or to call, maybe it's something like that. I don't know if people, what do you think about that? Do you think that people, I don't know how bad can get, because I know that when I've been he said, once again, I'm tormented. I know when I've been in a place where I feel tormented, I kind of think I did know, if I'm honest with myself, one thing that I could have been doing at least to help myself out. But do you think that's true of everybody? Do you think everybody kind of has an idea, or?
No, I don't think everybody has an idea. I don't have an idea most of the time. So, I don't. Sarcast in the house. It's not about running from the mind. It's about letting the impulses pass. It's to not the mind lead you, but to lead the direction that your thoughts take. Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think a lot of it though is, this thing pops up in your head, and there's really no explanation for it. Because like I said...
Negative or positive thing?
Well, negative or positive. Like, a memory pops up in your head that surprises you. You weren't thinking about it. You were, I don't know, making eggs for breakfast, and then boom, this thing pops in your head. We've all experienced this phenomenon. And, we don't need to get into the scientific minutia of why that happens, because there's really no explanation for it. You just have to, okay, what do you do with it? Right? So those thoughts automatically carry with it that emotional baggage, that emotional memory, especially if it's a negative one. And then you got to decide what you're going to do with that. And a lot of us immediately, because we're so trained in the Western world to always be comfortable, and comfort equals good and discomfort equals bad, thought pops into our head, and whatever the universe, God, your primary self and your second self, whatever you want to call it, is trying to tell you it's time to deal with this little fragment of trauma. We're trained, anytime that you feel pain or any type of suffering, get out of there. And so we suppress it. And what I'm saying is, your mind has already suppressed that for you, because your mind knew that you couldn't deal with it at that time. I'm just using mind as a placeholder. Whatever that mysterious mechanism is that yesterday didn't make you think about that thing that happened when you were 5, versus today, now all of a sudden it's flashed into your head. That's because your mind said, okay, they can't deal with it yesterday. But now you can deal with it, so deal with it. But then you suppress it, and now you're in this fight with this, you're a fractured person, because one part of your consciousness is trying to bring it to the forefront. Wow. Another part of your consciousness is trying to suppress it. Your other consciousness is saying, yeah, but we've already suppressed this. Like, that's why you haven't been thinking about this 24/7. But now, because you've aimed yourself at fighting this memory or whatever that means, now you're never going to get better. And now it's going to be the thing that you're obsessed about. Because if I say, don't think about the pink elephant, and you tell yourself, I'm not going to think about the pink elephant, I'm not going to think about the pink elephant, then that's the only thing you're going to think about. And I think that's a lot of the reasons why a lot of us, I'm no doctor, but I think it's a reason a lot of us can't get over those things. And the other thing about trauma is sometimes you traumatize yourself by the bad things that you've done. So you've done, let's say you did something and you completely screwed up a relationship, and then, and that those negative reactions from your significant other or your friends or whatever are because of something that you did. And instead of dealing with that, when that pops up, boom, you're gonna push it away, and it puts you in a never-ending cycle. You're never gonna get out of it from that perspective, I think.
What do you think about when your mind, like, I think that there's times where your mind kind of brings like one thing, but then your mind sometimes will just keep like basically piling on you. This, and then you almost feel like you're going to have a breakdown. Yeah. And for me, like I've always said, our worldview is extremely convenient, because when you look at, if you look at the lyrics, this guy's tortured. A lot of it is by the things that he's done as well. And when he says past lives, I don't think he's necessarily talking about past lives in like a Buddhist sense or something like that. Sarcasm is in the house, and maybe did he say lives? Where I see life, silenced echoes of a past life.
Yeah, or a past life. It's the same thing. Like I don't think he means it in like the literal sense.
Oh, but, yeah, no, I didn't think so either.
There are epics or periods in your life where you're like, oh, that's when, for us it was, we used to call it by where we lived, because we moved around so much. It's like, that was the gantry era, that was the, that was the country gardens era, whatever. You have periods of your life where like this was your life, but now your life is completely different. And sometimes that change is good, but in this song, it seems that the change wasn't necessarily the best, in the sense of what he wanted. It looks like he lost something, which then generated a bunch of distrust, because he talked about mistrust, distrust in the song, and now all this stuff is beneath the surface. And I think the author of the song has been constantly suppressing it, and the way that he's dealing with it now is through the music.
Absolutely.
Which is why you get a lot of artists who they say, look, mind or God or universe, whatever you want to say, I can't deal with this by myself. I'm going to channel it through music. And the music helps to face those things like head on. And then when you get on stage and your fans shoot it back to you, go, okay, I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only one that's dealing with it. And so it becomes something that's really cathartic if you can master that situation and find some way to make peace with it. Especially if you're the one who screwed something up.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to make peace with yourself. You know, obviously for us, it's like, well, you were born that way, and so you were born to screw up. So if you screw up, don't be too hard on yourself. You know, give yourself a little bit of leeway. Give yourself a little bit of grace because you were born to screw up, and that's all you were going to do. So be a little bit nicer to yourself, and then ask for help in getting better. That's our kind of framework. You know, we have this sort of insulation and fail safes from our mistakes. I do think you can get there even without a Christian worldview, but obviously Christian worldview is massively convenient.
It makes it easier.
Yeah, it's very, very convenient.
When he says, I'm still the one you know, is he talking to himself or someone else?
I think maybe he did something to someone that he maybe betrayed them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was
And you know how people, they're like, I don't even know who you are anymore. And he's like, well, I'm still the same guy. I just made a mistake type of thing.
Well, he said, I'm still the one you know, but something wicked lives inside of me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, this has been a running theme all the time. It's like, I'm still the guy you know. I'm still a good guy, but there's something inside of me that's wicked. And that's the you know, Paul says it this way. It's not, you know, if I do what I do not want to do, it's no longer I who do it, but sin living in me. And so Paul actually disassociates himself so much from his sinful nature that he says it's not even me doing it. When he says it's not me doing it, what he's saying is that is not my ultimate and complete design or will. If I could, I would be a perfect person. So it's this principle of sin living in me that's making me do this. And he's saying, look, I'm a you know, the guy that you fell in love with, or the friend that you fell in love with, because we fall in love with our friends. I'm that guy. It's just there's also something in me that caused me to do this, and now you don't trust me anymore, and all the rest of it. I think it's a very, very honest song. It's deep. It's really, really deep. It's a good song. What do you give it?
You go first.
This song is a solid. This is a really, you know, it's like the albums, or when you when you go to a rock show, they always got to start off with like a good banging song to get the crowd up. So I feel like this is no different. 9.8.
Oh wow, 9.15 for me.
Shout out to Delaney. All right, dear listener. We got another song coming your way. Sit tight. Be patient. If you're in YouTube world, don't worry about it. We'll check you again at 11 or 3 p.m. EST Eastern Standard Time. Having said that, dear listener, Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone. The name of the band was ShadeCrown. The name of the song was The Awakening. We are going to commercial break, dear listener. We shall return. What have you done?
Oh my word, it hurt.
I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate. Do it!
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft. Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch
our
indeed.
merch.
Which y'all shall lead them.
Yes. Next up on our song list tonight is Netherbird, Atrium of the Storm.
Atrium of the Storm by the band Netherbird from our DJ, Controller of Minds, as you can see up there. Dear listener, if you'd like to be a DJ, it's very, very simple. 4 songs. If you get 4 songs, then you become the DJ. This is at 5 p.m. or whatever, because it's the European stream, because our person is a European. Happy winter solstice, says JLB. We're getting right into the next song, which is Atrium of the Storm from the band Netherbird. Let's go. kind of a sudden end there.
Yeah.
But damn. Okay, so instrumentally speaking, this is my favorite song of the month.
Oh, okay.
Just what they did instrumentally, especially the second half of the song. Holy smokes.
Yeah, instrumentally it was really good.
Damn. Lyrically, the way they started out was crazy. While the blood of the mountain feeds life anew, which is a brilliant way of talking about
The water.
water.
Yeah.
You know, being the blood of the mountain.
Yeah.
Which gives life anew, which obviously has certain undertones for us about blood giving life to that. That's just a brilliant way to start off the song. The infernal beasts are roaming the quest for prey. From freight enigma come wretched void as nights drag us back bleak
I
into
can't
the
remember
deep.
what enigma means.
Like a mystery.
Oh.
It's like a puzzle you can't solve.
Okay. Oh, okay.
A frail existence. Now head towards the wind, a speck of light adrift. When all we have awoken is death that brought us life.
Loved that whole clip of thing right there.
A grain of sand and a crown in the ruins of these halls. What were you getting?
Well, it's not at all what they're trying to say, but I'm a Christian, so I can't see it. When all we have awoken is death that brought us life, I thought of Christ and how his death brought us life, and we as Christians, like, we have that is our story. Like, that's the center of all that we are. And without that resurrection, you know, Paul said we're of all people the most miserable if Christ never rose. So when he said we have all awoken is death that brought us life, a grain of sand. So when he said a grain of sand, there's verses that talks about that God's thoughts to us are more in number than the sand on the sea. So all the sand, all those little grains of sand are, if you compared those to all the good thoughts that God has toward you, there's not even enough grains of sand to even cover all those thoughts. And then obviously a crown, when I think of a crown, I think of Christ and everything that he went through, and then him being our king and then in the ruins of these halls. That to me was just the ruins, like destruction, everything, but there used to be halls, there used to be something there. And that to me was just the world. Like, there's so much chaos and everything in the, so that's what it was to me. So,
But the ruins of the halls?
All those things, when all we have awoken is death that brought us life, a grain of sand, a crown in the ruins of these halls. Like, everything, like, you can see the world in two different ways. You can look at it and you can see all the promise, you can see life, you can see births and joy and children and happiness and fun. Or you can see all the misery, and there's so much to see on either side. And the destruction, like, people are capable of such evils. And then there's things that are just, like, sad. For some reason, I've been, for, like, the last week or something, I've been really conscious about people that have to live with, handicaps in different ways, whether it's mental or physical. But I've been focusing on the physical one, and I was reading, I guess it was a show that was called like Little People, Big World or something like that. And it was people who were born with, I don't know the appropriate term, dwarfism, or they were just smaller people. Yeah. And it follows their life and just the complications that go with that. And, you know, one of them gets married, and, well, I don't want to give spoilers in case people want to watch it, but, you know, one of the smaller people marries like a regular sized person, and how that goes, and they're having children and everything that goes along with it. But just how life can, like, these people worked a farm, and they didn't allow their shortcomings, or like their I don't know how to say it without I don't know what the PC way of saying it is. If you're running a farm, it's hard enough to run it if you have your normal height. And when you don't, how much more complications and difficulties and the difficulties that go along with just having that as part of your makeup. So, you know, but they were fighters, and how they were able to overcome and do all the things that they were able to do. But you can see just some things are just like tragic. Or the people that, you know, could have been saved but weren't because of capitalism. And it's just, some things are just terribly tragic. But there's so much beauty in the world, and then there's so much unbelievable evil too. It's just...
Well, I think that's when he talks about, that's the controlling verse that or line, the atrium of the storm. It's kind of like that almost bubble where you can get in and escape the wilds and the chaos of the elements. And, in pursuit of hearth, which is warmth, and shelter from a fate of broken swords, which is... So you've got the elements that you have to deal with. But it's really interesting because it starts off beautifully. We're talking about the blood of the mountain giving life and all the rest of it. But there is a certain beauty in the just craziness. Like I was looking at, I don't know if it was Jupiter or Saturn. It was one of these planets with all these storms or whatever.
Oh. And
it was, a rendition or whatever, because there's people that don't believe, whatever. That's fine. But like, it was like the storm, and it was crazy. And then the scientist was saying, look, this is this gas and that gas, and like you would be dead in 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. So like you're seeing this like amazing wonder, and you're like, this is beautiful. But if you were in the middle of that shit, you would not be thinking this. I mean, you wouldn't be thinking much of anything. You'd be dead.
I was gonna say it,
but like
there would be no thoughts.
Like if you could think, you'd be like, oh, this sucks to be in the middle of it. But to be able to be inside of the harshness of nature, to be able to observe it while simultaneously be protected with some kind of bubble, where you could have warmth and shelter. And then it says, from a fate of broken swords, which then goes, it was Jupiter, I think, which then goes into human evil. Yeah. Because, the fate of broken swords, if your sword is broken in a battle, presumably you've lost. Mm-hmm. And so, it's like finding, but then that also speaks to, a sword also speaks to the beauty of human ingenuity. Mm-hmm. How brilliant human beings are that we could figure out, hey, if we did this and added some heat here and did that. And just like nature, the nature itself almost becomes a metaphor for human nature, which is you are capable of making something amazing, but simultaneous to that, we're going to turn those swords against each other, and those swords are going to break. Mm-hmm. And there's two ways in which a sword breaking is either good or bad. If you break your sword because you want to turn it into the world, then that's great. Right. But that's not where we are right now in the timeline. Right. So if you have a broken sword, you're dead, and you've died in battle, very miserable freaking life. So it was a brilliant way, I think, of using the nature metaphor of how nature is and how crazy it is, and the contradiction that is nature, the beauty in it, but also the destructive element in it. You look at a lion, and it's beautiful and it's majestic, and it's also a fucking killing machine. Mm-hmm.
Or an ocean, the waves.
Yeah.
It'll break up against the side of a mountain. It'll destroy a mountain over time.
Yeah. And again, we march into the atrium of the storm. So you have to have kind of this, you got to have this sort of defensive posture as you're trying to eke out some existence in this world. It's kind of a pessimistic way of looking at the world, but it's also extremely realistic. And I as I said in the other review, life is not always about being comfortable all the time. You got to have to look at this stuff in the face. Mm-hmm. At the heart of the chaos, in the deep below, aimlessly we wandered in our sleep. Come back to the silence to light the faded flame.
Come break the silence.
Yeah, come break the silence to light the faded flame. Sanctity where none should be found. A frail existence, now head towards the wind, a speck of light adrift. Then, when all we have awoken to is death that brought us life, a grain of sand and a crown. A grain of sand would be, again, if he's talking about, human ingenuity or human, warfare, where you win. Mm-hmm. And you've now overtaken this land. But he's saying, yeah, but what is it in the grand scheme of things but a grain of sand?
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's what it looks like to me. You have a grain of sand and a crown. Mm-hmm. Great, congratulations. But you've created all this chaos and all this destruction over time, and all these people, and now you get the crown. Congratulations, and you've got this speck of a land, which, if you look at it from the, 30,000 feet view, it's like less than a grain of sand. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a pretty cool way of talking about, you know, what have all of our struggles and of our wars, what has it actually gotten us? You know what I'm saying? And so but sonically, and then it says, the endless storm will never cease to rage, like dust adrift we scatter across the realm without a name. When the cold autumn arises, sun dims and colors fade, bereft of life, the theft of time itself. Because the way that we've measured time is the sun. But one of these days, the sun will collapse in silence.
Yep.
For a world covered in snow. Like, if you know, I'm just inhabiting this guy's universe. One of these days, everything that we've been doing over time is going to be completely insignificant, and the sun itself is going to go out, and the means by which we've been able to track time is going to disappear itself. And then what? It's kind of a nihilistic way of looking at the world, but like I always say, if the sky is empty, they're completely 100% right. So it's like, why can't we, in this short sliver of time, find a way to get along with each other?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not kill each other. That'd be great. It'd be great if we could not kill each other. So
this part was crazy too. No man can stand unshattered in his grief. Crazy line.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good line. And of course, Sarcast, if the now is everything, you have the kind of disposition that says, then let's love each other and be as good to each other as hard as we possibly can, because all we have is now. And there's other people that are going to say, yeah, all we have is now, so all I'm going to do is live my life to maximize my own happiness and fuck everybody else, because we're going into heat death anyway.
Right.
Both of which are valid if the sky's empty. So I get you. I'm glad that you have that view of the world, but not everybody has that view of the world. But overall, though, I think he's looking at the past, the present, and the future, and I'm not sure that the author of the song has necessarily come to a conclusion. But what I will tell you is, sonically, what that guy did on guitar, like the second, like he completely took over the song from my vantage point.
Yeah.
So the second half, they slowed it down, went a little acoustic for a second, went a little folky for a second. And then the guy just took off and said, watch this, guys. And basically told the story of the song from beginning, middle, to end with his instrument. And they just rode that to the end of the song, which I thought was brilliant. It's a 10 for me. It's my favorite song of the month. And I've listened to a lot of really good songs this month, but it's my favorite song of the month for sure.
8.9 for me.
What?
Well, this is not my style. You know, the vocal
What did
style
you give
stuff.
it?
I gave it an 8.9. That's what I did.
There you are, dear listener. This song's a 10 for me. Luminous Night, you did not miss Insomnium. Insomnium is on the way. Having said that, dear listener, then out.
Sori out.
Gone. Okay, guys, we are coming right back to you guys in the deal commercial break. We shall return. I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord,
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
and they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160+ thousand people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
There you are.
There you are indeed.
And a child shall lead them. Hey, you guys, don't forget, check out our merch. We have that the skull one up there. It's actually pretty cool.
Is that the Till We Die one?
Yeah, it's the Till We Die one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one. It's
got two versions.
That one's a really, really good one. Somebody's like, you've improved. You've stepped up your game.
We did. Well, one of our villagers did anyway. Up next on our DJ stream is a song called Pantaria.
Fanta Ray, I think it is. Something about Phantom Light, maybe. They're a French band, and I do not know how to pronounce the name of this band. Aephanemer is my best guess. Having said that, dear listener, the time has arrived. Aephanemer, Fanta Ray. Let's go. Oh, yes. Very talented indeed.
kept getting crazier. Like,
you mean as far as like the
instrumentally?
Yeah. So this is like a first of all, this is Controller of Mind's like guiding life philosophy, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It's I think I'm pretty sure that that's what he said.
Sonically, what they did with it. Have you ever seen those scenes where like chaos keeps breaking out more and more and more, and like by the end, the parent or the adult just like gives up and is just like laying there, and you might see somebody's like, it just felt like just give up. Musically, just you gotta just go with this. It just kept increasing, and I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but I very much enjoyed it.
There's 2 women in the band and 2 men in the band.
I was so glad they had those
female vocalists. Yeah, I love it when there's female vocals in metal, but I was surprised because I didn't know that there was going to be a female vocalist in the in the band.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Apparently, you're low on volume. That's because your
got unplugged.
Your mic. There you go.
Thank you, Sarcast. Appreciate it.
Okay, it's one of the core philosophies of his life. Okay. So here go the lyrics. He says, so I think he's talking about this concept of like the constant flow. To forget the law of constant change is like swimming against a tide. All passes, nothing remains, yet our identity fictions abide. Which is a very interesting, remember the what we were watching yesterday about the mind and perceptibility and the different, there's your social self and there's but it is true. Like, when people say, a lot of times people say things that are really strange, like never change.
Yeah, or they say in a relationship, you've changed so much. You're not the person I met.
You're not the person
10 years ago.
Which
didn't know we were being held to the standard of not growing.
It's really interesting. Like, if you look at it physically, if you take that concept, most of the time when they say you've changed, you're talking metaphysically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, you've changed your mindset, or you've changed like how you think, or the way that you talk, or whatever, or what you believe, or whatever. But if you just translate it to the physical realm, you see how ridiculous it is. Like, imagine me going up to Orion and being like, "You've changed. You're not the
baby we brought from the hospital.
You're not the little spinny baby that I saw in the womb. Like, now you're walking and talking and jumping and you're shoving away food and all that. Like, you've changed. Like, what do you mean, bro? Like,
depart from me."
Yeah, like, you're supposed to change that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're supposed to change. So, that was really interesting until he calls it your identity fictions abide, which is not necessarily a scary thought if you're a very self-aware person, but a lot of people have fictions about their identity.
Yeah.
Like, they have stories about their identity, and a lot of it is rooted in resisting the fact that they're a changed person. And for some reason, a lot of us want to hold on to this idea that we're one thing, the person that we were. Yeah, and that's why I've said, but, I'm not aware of it. I think there are subtle changes that change us every day. But I don't have that degree of self-awareness yet, but I do know that, certain major events in my life have absolutely changed me. Like, I'm a completely different person because of the loss of my mother-in-law and my mother about a year and a half, 2 years apart. It made me a completely different person. The last trip I took made me a very, very different person. So, like, on the big things, I can say I have enough self-awareness, because I know a lot of guys, like, especially in the world that I was in, previously.
So I was right then.
Previously, your career depends on saying that you were unchanged by running into certain situations. Like, so, you go and you talk to people after certain things happen, and you're like, how are you doing, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's fine. And it's like, well, this and this happened, so they're like, well, it comes with the territory, and it's true, it does come with the territory, but it does change you. I will say that my last trip did not change me anywhere near the degree that, my mother-in-law and my mom changed me. Like, but it absolutely, it absolutely did. But I think, we were watching that thing where the room changed.
Yeah.
And
I wish I wouldn't have been putting on the subtitles.
If you would have put on the before and after of that the room looks not completely and totally different.
I mean, quite a few things changed in it.
Right, and the guy
like
said...
an exercise ball was there, and it's completely gone in the next clip.
He said, I don't even know, and he's done this drill a bunch of times in the talk. He's like, I don't even know how much of the room has changed. Mm-hmm. He said, because one of his students made it. But basically, the room had changed subtly, but it was so subtle that you didn't know, so you thought you were looking at the same room, and there is a sense in which you're looking at the same room and not. Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
and that's some of the conversation, especially with Philo around the logos, where you never cross the same stream twice.
It's what I was just thinking of,
right? And I think this is actually mentioned in the in this thingamajig here.
Soon downstream in the watershed, all the rivers will... No, right there? No?
Yeah, Sarcast, I don't know, maybe he thinks he was joking, but...
Oh, right there. Water remains to stay the same.
Right. I think Sarcast is joking here, kind of, but, I'm a completely different person after having eaten ice cream for the first time in my life, which was possibly when I was 3. But... I think
it's true though. Yeah, everything changes you.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you're a different person. I got saved when I was very, very young, and so because of my relationship with God, I have a horrible, I hate mayonnaise. Because if you're righteous, you're obviously going to hate mayonnaise. When God changes your nature, you understand that mayonnaise is probably... You can't get higher on the abomination scale than mayonnaise.
He says he hates mayonnaise, but there's actually a meal that he loves, and I cook it all the time, and it includes mayonnaise. He just doesn't know. So
that's a lie. She's lying.
Did you see me wink on the screen?
Lie.
I meant to know. I was like, shoot. After I winked, I'm like, dang it, he can see me. It would have been better to get your reaction. Anyway, yeah, carry on.
Yeah, but that line, identity fictions, is a crazy line, man. Because I'm going back and forth with somebody in our house. I'm like, bro, you're delusional.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? And it's for something right now that's insignificant. It's about a video game. But a lot of us are serious. That's why I said us, seriously delusional. And then you say to yourself, I asked this person, I said, listen, if you were delusional, how would you know?
I know.
So, that's why, I read the comment sections on certain issues because I know that comment section is going to generate a bunch of controversy. Mm-hmm. And then I say, okay, this is an outsider who doesn't like me, love me, and knows that they're not going to be in a relationship with me. So they're going to tell me something. So I read, and I scroll through about 100 of them.
That's interesting.
And I find a criticism, and they're usually long form and very well thought out. And I find a criticism where somebody has really thought something through in the criticism, and I go, and that's very helpful to me. Other things, it's like they're just going to lash out and go, rah! And, they're all emotional and all the rest of it. And, politically speaking, shit's been very emotional for people in the last 4 years and all the rest of it. But all of us have identity fictions. All of us do. That we don't see. And the problem is that people that love us generally, we can't trust them. Because they're not going to tell you when you're getting along. And then when you're not getting along, they're going to, they're going to spit them out. But you can't trust it because you're like, you're just saying that because you're mad at me. You weren't saying that, yesterday or whatever. So I've utilized the comment sections a bunch of times. And it's been very, very helpful. It's helped how I engage people. It's helped how I think about things. It's helped about certain assumptions that I have. But, again, people only want to hear good things about themselves.
Yeah.
It's to the point where, somebody says something bad to you about you in a YouTube comment section. People really take it it really screws up their day. But if you can actually say one of these people is revealing an identity fiction, then they're one of your best helpers.
Yeah.
One of your best helpers if you can do it.
Yeah, if you can not be offended by the fact that they're pointing stuff out. Yeah.
For Heraclitus, if everything is in constant flux, there must be a constant principle that governs everything. The logos. I agree. So, like, if the room is constantly changing, what's making the room remain the room? And in that universe, it's the guy who designed the little picture of the doohickey. He is the logos principle. The guy on the outside, yes, the room is in flux. And it was programmed that way, but the guy on the outside who designed the room in the first place gave us a general outline that makes the room still roomy, if that makes any sense. Here we're unable to move, drown in the maelstrom of pretense. Here Xenos Turtle proves that stillness is not a lasting defense. These guys are amazing. They're able to rhyme and all this stuff. I'm just constantly amazed at this. These guys are French. So Xenos Turtle is basically, if you give Achilles is very fleet-footed, right? He's very fast. If you give the turtle a head start, he will always be ahead of Achilles, because when Achilles gets to the point where the turtle started, the turtle will be at another point, etc., etc. So that shows that everything is constantly in flux and everything is constantly in motion. Basically, I think is where they're going. Stillness is not a lasting defense, because if a turtle can outrun Achilles, then just being still isn't going to change anything, because the flow of time is going this way. You're going to get caught up in it. So even if you're still going to be going. You're still going to be proceeding. Which is interesting, because...
You mean because time is always pushing forward? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's time, but just the essence of the universe itself is always in flux. Everything is always in motion.
Yeah, sometimes when I think about the past, the present, and the future, like if you just stop and you think about that and how it's rotating right through that while you're thinking about it. The past is becoming a more distant past. The present just became the past, and the future just became the present. But you're still in the present, and there's still the future. And it's like your head can get all like, "What is going on?" I like those thoughts, though.
Yeah, and to Zarkast's point, our perception of reality is what is actually of a fraction of what really is, and therefore fractured. Agreed, and that can be proven mathematically, but that's a different discussion. But that's really interesting, because a lot of the Eastern, like, so for example, when we're in the sauna, it's like 225 or something like that.
Yeah, between 220 and 240.
Like the 11-minute mark, or like once we've got about, because you stay about 30 minutes in it, 32 minutes in it, and once you start hitting that, you start. It's interesting. Cause I was watching something, and like your body's in distress.
You feel it sometimes. You feel like you're moving around.
You hear your heart beating in your ears.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And like you're here, and your body's like,
check with your doctor before you go in a sauna for that extended period of time.
Yeah, don't do that. Like we built up as there is a lot of science behind how we got there. We built up a certain level of tolerance and all the rest of it, and it's timed like to the second, literally. So don't go and but I mean it's got certain benefits for us. But like when your body starts sending those distress signals, I start moving. And then I say to myself, okay, this is why I'm in the sauna. The real reason I stay in that long is because I want to have that mental battle. So like when I get that inclination, okay, it's time to start moving, because your body's in a fight or flight situation. Stillness in the middle of that is the goal.
Yep.
So it's really interesting.
That's funny. Well, we both have different goals, I think.
Yeah.
So yours is that mine is I'm trying to find peace. I want to have that like kind of centered sort of feeling. And so when I'm in there and I can start feeling myself getting all panicky or whatever, I just say to myself, hold on, like just find your peace in here, and things become more or less terrible depending on how you look at them. If you're looking at it as, oh my gosh, I'm stuck in this room, I'm going to be in here for another 15 more minutes, it's friggin' hot in here, people have been sweating, they've been sweating on this wood I'm sitting on, now I'm sitting on, it can really, your head can really, everybody's breathing the same air, like it can get really gross for me. Maybe it's because I'm a little bit OCD, I don't know. But I have to stop and just be like, okay, just enjoy the heat and just breathe in, breathe out, and just kind of find that like I guess the control of your own emotions and thoughts without letting everything just run wild.
Yeah, because it definitely triggers that fight mechanism. But it's interesting that's a paradox. I don't know if it's a contradiction, but on the one hand, the song is saying, look, stillness really isn't a defense, and you have to understand that everything is in flux. But simultaneous to that, you have to formulate some exercise where you can be still. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of the curses of the modern world is our inability to be still. You know, we always have to be moving around, or we always have to hear something, or something always has to be playing, or whatever, or, you know, we've got a 24-hour news cycle. So it's very, very difficult to be still. Back in the day, you had a rhythm because you were basically beholden to nature. And then we discovered things like electricity and things like that. And so our rhythms are no longer beholden to nature. You kind of have to be more disciplined than our forefathers were in order to get actual rest or achieve actual stillness and meditation. Mm-hmm. So now you literally, I mean, meditation and stillness is like, it's literally millions of multi-million-dollar industry. Like LeBron James has this thing called Calm and all the rest of it. So it's interesting, like, if everything is in flux, but one of the ways of, you know, be still and know that I'm God, that's probably the solution for us, right? Is because the reason everything is in flux is because God has wound up the universe to be that way. So being still means let God carry you to where you need to go without resisting it. Mm-hmm. So like Brother Lawrence says, you know, whatever God has for him in the day, that's what he's going to be satisfied with. Whether it's washing dishes, you know, martyrdom, you know, stubbing his toe, he's gonna accept it, and enjoy it to a degree, which I'm not sure how you avoid quietism with that worldview. Because
Quietism?
Quietism, it's basically you don't do anything and God does everything, and that's not the way either, because God wants you to be a participator in creation. So the song is very challenging for me lyrically, because I definitely see the point in what it's saying, and I'm pretty sure I agree with it based on the scientific stuff we've been looking at probably for the last 8 months. I'm pretty sure I agree with it. But simultaneous to that, on the metaphysical side, stillness is a goal that I'm trying to accomplish. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
What do you got?
You mean for a score, or?
Any other thoughts before we jump into Insomnium?
No, I think it's a quest that a lot of us are on. I'm sure that there are some people that have kind of found that sort of zen where they're able to not allow circumstances and situations to get them all in an upheaval. But then there are some of us that are not that far down the path on that, and the slightest thing will just throw us off. So I definitely think I like the idea of finding that center, kind of getting to that calm and
stillness.
Relating to what you said, leaning on God and just saying, okay, well, look, whatever comes down the path today, like, this is what was sent to me, and I can't determine what's sent to me, but I can determine how I react to it. And I think that there's a lot of peace if we can really kind of grasp onto that. As far as what I would rate the song, I'm gonna go with it started low and it kind of kept climbing. I'm gonna go with a 9 even.
Yeah, Sarcast. There are mixed saunas in the U.S. Yes, everybody wears clothes. Bless God.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, is it better to have a sweater on? Because one time I wore a hoodie. I didn't really want to wear the hoodie because the hoodie kind of gave me like a bubble. Then I wear like this thermal. It's kind of like this, only it's like more hot. I want to suffer the most that I possibly can. Or as a tank top or completely shirtless, more suffering. What can I do to maximize suffering in the sauna? Before you answer that question, I'm going to give you my score. My score is a 9.874.
Wow.
9.874.
Wow.
Really, really love the song. Couldn't give it a 10 because I liked the previous song before. Stay tuned, dear listener. Insomnium is next. Insomnium is next, dedicated to the grandmother of Controller of Minds. You are not going to want to miss it.
It was a grandmother? Sori out.
Go!
It's a great grandfather, I believe.
Later, Sadie. Got placed 19 of 25 top albums this year. Holy smokes.
Father's father. I think with the I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish as far as the shirt and no shirt thing. Like for me, I don't like wearing, for me, probably I should wear a sweatshirt because the idea of being trapped inside of a sweatshirt inside of a hot sauna for 30 minutes is that'd be a real, if I'm in it, oh boy, that's, yeah. But I don't know.
All right, dear listener, we are on the way back. Stand by. I'm Vin.
Does this smell like cheese?
If you would
babe?
like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord,
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
and they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed.
And a child shall lead them. All right. Next up on the list is Insomnium.
Insomnium! Okay, so this was not for grandma. This was
No, it was for his great-grandfather. His father's father, who died. Okay, the fourth and last one is special in that I dedicate it to my late grandfather, father's father, who died 5 years ago at the age of 96. Was his move circle complete?
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's who this song is dedicated to. Now, you might dedicate it to someone else or no one at all. Depends. All right, guys, let's check it out. This is Insomnium. The River. Lyrics are actually on the thingy itself. Thank you so much for carefully selecting videos so you don't get blocked,
Oh my God,
brother.
You know what? I have this controller of minds. I'm sorry. I'm looking and I see that you sent the lyrics to every single one of these. I didn't even see it. Look, lyrics. I'm very sorry. I don't know how I missed that.
And we're off. Ooh.
Wow.
Tonight, the dust is being
Okay.
gathered here
Okay.
and brought before my Father and set before his throne.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. That's amazing. Damn. Damn.
Wow.
Check out Controller of Minds' YouTube channel. It's super cool. Hopefully, Controller is a...
Controller, send me the link to your YouTube channel.
If he's an admin, he can put it on here.
He's not. Send it to email me and I'll put it up here. Wow, that was a beautiful ending. Wow, what a beautiful song.
This song is deep. Some of my commentary is between me and the Most High, so I'm not gonna say.
Yeah.
But some songs you can have a really spiritual experience with. Call it what you will.
Yep.
But I definitely had an experience listening, and just lyrically. Sometimes people nail it, man. I mean, I've listened to a lot of songs about death, a lot of songs about passing on to the next world, and all the rest of it. And they're good they're good in themselves, but some of them just really, really nail it. Sometimes when I'm like, you get a sort of like a muse, and it's like, oh man, this would be great. But you're in bed or you're doing something, and you don't want to steal away. Like, these guys, they hit it, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What was going on with you?
I just thought it was beautiful. I just really liked I'm trying to get the lyrics back up here, but I sent a message to Controller of Minds. I just... The song kept changing. No, I've got it here. The song kept changing.
Yeah,
and then,
a lot of people were talking about that.
Yeah, and by the end, it was just like some next level... Man... And the way that the song started out, which I didn't realize that he was quoting the beginning of the song about his grandfather, that was just beautiful. The way that these lyrics were, I don't know. And I agree with you. That ending was just crazy. Is this? I would love to know what the belief system is of this person. And then they had the female vocals in there and stuff.
I think it's they're probably Norse pagan. The throne of my father, that's probably Odin. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that Controller is probably going to be able to help us out with that. But I'm assuming that was Odin, like his dust, because they do the whole thing with the pyre and all that.
Yep.
And I'm assuming afterwards, your all that happens.
The beginning of the song kind of reminded me of. Were you going to say more?
No, go ahead.
The beginning of the song kind of reminded me of, as Christians, when we were kids, like, there was this idea that there was going to be a rapture, and all of a sudden, like, the sky was going to open up. You didn't even know it was coming.
That idea is still there.
Well, yeah, but we don't believe it anymore. The sky was going to just roll back, and then people were just going to be sucked off the planet, and some people were going to be left.
Well,
but
I still believe that. Not that people are going to be... Well, yeah, still people are going to be left, but we'll talk about that in the sauna. Go ahead. So people...
Anyway, there's this idea that at any moment, boom, the end of the world could happen. Not for everybody though, just the Christians, and and you just get sucked away. And so there was always this hidden excitement that at any moment,
the rest of you poor saps, your airplanes would crash and all that shit.
You were gonna get left behind.
You're gonna get left behind, and Nicola Carpenter was gonna show up and take over the world, and he would tattoo your brain.
Did you hear that? I don't know if this is true, but I heard. Of course, it was Christians that said this, so they might have been saying, and it doesn't matter that when there's a pilot, they won't let two Christians work together as pilots. It's not true. That was what they told us. Oh Lord!
Did they really tell you that?
They did. They told us that they don't allow it because just in case that it's true, they didn't want it to be unmanned. Oh look!
Say wallahi.
Wallahi, babe. They said that. Yep. And I'm not saying who said it. You can ask me later because I'm not saying it publicly. Yeah. So anyway, so let's get to the point. There's this excitement that the rapture could happen. And that was very useful when you were like punished, like when you felt like you were grounded for 1,000 days. When you were grounded in that situation, you were like, well, but the rapture could happen, so I might not have to do this whole punishment. But then there was times where I was like, well, I don't actually want the rapture to happen because I really, really, really wanted to get married and have children. That was a very important thing.
So the song reminded you of that?
Yes, because he said, one more summer I ask for, I crave. One more summer just to finish my song. So he knew his time was coming to an end, but he wanted a little bit more time because he had things that he wanted to accomplish. And that's how I felt. And then once I was married, then I was like, oh, well, actually, I want to have a kid. So hold off, please, if you could. The rapture. Like God would hold off the entire rapture for the whole planet because I wanted to have a child. But yet I prayed for it anyway. So
that's not funnier to me than the pilot mythology thing.
Oh, I know.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, I really liked it. And the way that some of these songs and the way that they talk about him, he's talking about death, but he does it in a way that makes you feel like it's not like some songs are like you finish it and you're like, I feel like shit just for hearing the song. You know what I mean? But this one has like this.
Saying. They definitely hit it.
Yeah, it's going somewhere. It's not. I don't know.
They definitely hit it. I agree with you, BC. It was. Yeah, obviously, I've done a lot of thinking about death, and I've been in a couple situations where you have that inner dialogue, and it was like, you're going to die right now. It's like, you're going to die right now. And I felt nothing. You know, people, I felt at peace. I didn't feel at peace. I just felt nothing, which, of course...
Well, some people would say nothing is peace because you weren't terrified.
Yeah, but I've heard people just talk about
peace and like being completely
near-death experiences.
Yeah.
I didn't have a near-death experience. Like, I was near death, and I was almost certain I was going to die, but I didn't feel, a couple times, but I didn't feel, and maybe that's because I wasn't really going to die. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
but
maybe
no, you can't say that because there are people who have... Okay, if the entire thing is all planned out by some higher power and everything happens to you as it's supposed to happen, and let's say a bus comes flying by you and it was like literally like it touched your nose as it went by and it didn't kill you, you were not near death because you were not going to die. It was destined to you what day you were going to die. So you see what I'm saying?
How's that different from that?
Because you said maybe I wasn't near death, but then that doesn't explain people that have near death experiences but didn't die. They weren't near. They were just as near death as maybe you were.
Yeah, but like, they had something happen. Like they got into the car accident, or they got shot, or whatever. I was assuming XYZ thing is going to happen to me in the next 4 or 5 seconds.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
But it was one of those things where like it wasn't. You couldn't maneuver out of the way.
Oh,
like the person just, they had you dead to rights. Like it was, and you missed, dummy. But like, I didn't feel anything. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, but obviously you have situations like that, or you've lost the amount of people that I've lost, in my life. It's like you really start thinking about it, and I think, I've had it's weird. Like before people around me started dying, I think I had the basic fear of death that everybody has. And not everybody died well in the sense of like died, like there was one guy that, I really looked up to or whatever, but when it was like his time to die, he was very fearful, and that was kind of like,
Is that traumatizing a little bit to see?
No. I mean, I don't know, but like,
see, I feel like if I saw somebody freaking out about... That was one of my fears when I was working at the hospital, was because I was not working... There's 2 hospitals that are like our big hospitals here. One of them is Catholic and one of them is not. I happened to be... I had got hired by the one that was not Catholic. So when I was at work, you couldn't... Nothing about your religion you could bring into the room. And that to me... was the most horrible thing. I could not wait. That was one of the reasons I couldn't wait to get out of that job, was because I was like, if I land in a situation where somebody's dying, I want to pray with that person.
Right.
I want to talk to that person and talk to them about what's honestly happening. Like, this is it. There's no more games now. Like, this is it. And I did not like the idea that they, like, explicitly told you, like, you cannot say anything or do anything, and you have to, whatever their belief system is, you have to go with it. And I'm not good with that. Like, if we're having a regular conversation, they're sharing their beliefs, I'm sharing mine, but the person's dying, like, they're literally crossing over. I'm not going to pretend with you that your belief that there's nothing on the other side is true. That's not true. So, and I was not good with that. And then I just decided, well, if that happens to me, I'm just going to have to lose my job. Yeah. Because I'm not going to do anything other than do what I'm supposed to do in that situation. So,
yeah, I'd make the same. I'd do the same thing, but. And you know, there are people, you know, like to Sarkast's point, I think I saw that TED Talk where the person talked about telling people, yeah, dude, you're gonna die, and people, not everybody, but there are a lot of people reacted in a calm, you know, fashion. Because I do think, just physically on a scientific level, that God has situated your body such that you get an endorphin rush and other things to where He makes a transition easier. So I do believe that.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of people that say they cross over and they didn't want to come back.
Yeah, and you know, I listen, but the main
depends on where you go.
The main thing that's really fascinating to me right now about death and the discussion about death is consciousness itself, and where consciousness comes from, and that's probably a categorical error in even the way that I'm phrasing it. Where consciousness comes from, as if, you know, consciousness is the ultimate in metaphysics, and of course, you know, it's called the hard problem of consciousness, which is only a hard problem for physicalists. It's not a hard problem for
we don't have an issue.
Metaphysicalists like Hoffman or you know, Jonathan Edwards or whoever.
Yeah.
But just understanding how arbitrary our perceptions are in this world. Like, the more I listen to these neuroscientists and these very, very specialized people that are attacking the problem of consciousness per se, and it's really cool. You guys should really check out Kurt J. Mungel's channel, Theory of Everything, because he has really cool discussions.
Yeah.
With panpsychists and others who do not start off that saying matter is fundamental. They say that consciousness is fundamental, which obviously I believe. I don't believe that you can get matter from I don't believe you can get consciousness from matter. I think that that's impossible. So I don't think the hard problem of consciousness is ever going to be solved from a materialist, physicalist perspective. But and Sarkast said this earlier, and I don't know how far he's taking this because I don't know what he's studying currently, but so much of what we see in the physical world, what we're calling the physical world right now.
There's the link to it, you guys.
To Kurt J. Mungel's channel? Yeah.
No, sorry, to his top 25.
Oh, okay. So much of what we perceive in this world is it's just nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you mean compared to what it actually is?
To what the world actually is?
Yeah.
None of us knows what this world actually is.
Right.
And so, you know, and you've got people talking about, we're living in a hologram, like the guy was saying yesterday that this world is a mass hallucination. And these are credentialed scientists. They're not Christians. They're not, you know, many of them aren't even theists. Many of them will skirt around the theist question. Kurt will try to ask it, and they'll skirt around it. They don't want to go there. And I don't know if they don't want to go there because they don't want to admit it, or they want to go there because of the bigotry that happens as soon as you say you believe in God. People automatically pretend like you don't have any brain cells or whatever. But I don't, you know, I mean, I don't care what, you know what I'm saying? But like, so when you're thinking about like crossing over to the next world and what people are quote unquote seeing and what's happening with your consciousness, and this guy's, you know, there's this sort of universal, and it doesn't really matter what culture you come from. All major cultures have this idea that you're going into another world, or from my vantage point at this point, I would just say another field of consciousness. Yep, is what I'd say at this point. More conscious, just because of what I've looked at. It may be that you're not crossing into another world at all, but that you're seeing the world as it actually is for the first time.
Yeah, you know, like when you're asleep and you're dreaming, you think that unless you're conscious of your dreaming. But aside from that, I can't think of what that's called. What's that called when you're...
What?
When you dream and you're...
When you're in REM sleep?
No, when you're awake, when you're... Like in your dream, you're conscious that you're dreaming. What's that called again?
Oh, yeah, but go ahead.
Okay, well, anyway, there's that. Like, aside from that, when you're in your dream, you think that it's real. Like, you think that that's real life and that it's going to have real life consequences like life does. But then you wake up and you realize, oh, wait, actually... Lucid dreaming, right. Yeah, you're more conscious, obviously, when you're awake. It's a different level of consciousness, but you're in the same place. And so I wonder if when you cross over, it's like that. It's, okay, you are going to gain consciousness, more consciousness, and then this would seem to be a dream in comparison to the reality that was. I heard it once said that, like, the grass of that reality, if you stepped on it, would pierce through your feet because it is so real compared to, like, if you had this body, this physical body stepping into that realm. That's why we're going to need a new renewed body. Yeah.
And you know, like, that's kind of where I'm at this point, is that we're not seeing this reality for what it is. With this reality is based purely for utility. What our perceptive abilities are based purely for utility to survive in this game, whatever this thing is. And my ultimate, where I am right now, as far as, and it's funny because when I'm watching these guys, I don't think, how does this harmonize with the Christian worldview? I just think, okay, so then what's the point here? And it just so happens, obviously, I can't escape a Christian worldview because that's the glasses that I'm looking through, right? Mm-hmm. But so then I say to myself, okay, so the whole thing is really just I don't want to say hologram. There's not really a word for what I think reality is, but I think Hoffman comes the closest when he said that there are conscious agents that when they interface with each other create in themselves another conscious agent, and that we created or we booted up the quote physical world so that we could interface with each other and have experiences with each other. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the closest to what makes sense to me as to why we're all here in the first place. Mm-hmm. And I also think this brief little span of time that we have will give explanatory power to the roles that we play in the real consciousness, in the real world. So it'll be like, why is this guy like this? It's like, oh, that guy was a dick in the past. Like, that guy in the hologram was like Hitler, mm-hmm. right? And it's like, what if when we open up to real consciousness, all those people that he massacred, they're still alive, they're still around, they're still conscious, they're out there doing great things. And this guy's over here, we're like, yeah, we can't give you any real power. Right. Because when you were in the simulation and you had real power, you intended to do all this harm. Yeah. Like, what if this world is just about experience and intention? Mm-hmm. Right? So
I feel like lessons learned is a very important part of it too.
Yeah, 100%.
Because there are repeated things that happen. You know, something that really, really frustrates you and it keeps repeating itself and you progressively get more angry about the situation rather than learning the necessary lesson that you know, if you call it the universe or whatever, it's trying to teach you. We would say God, you know, I think God is trying to teach us lots of different things and that we will need in the next, you know, like how we raise our kids. We're raising our kids to, you know, when I first became part of this family, there was a lot of things that I thought were things that these kids, you know, they should have already known that I didn't feel like their mother taught them. And then I had to start teaching them these things when they were older and it seemed more difficult. But now, you know, we went out to get the Christmas stuff and I wasn't going to be able to help them put all that stuff away. And they had to situate a lot of stuff down there and get supper started and do all that stuff. Yeah. But like, I know that they have it because they've learned those lessons and they've learned how to do those things. And I wonder if it's like that with the next life. Like, you can learn what you need to learn. And then I gave way too much detail when I just said that.
Well, yeah. And I don't think it's esoteric philosophy. I just think that the latest science is telling us, to Sarkast's point, that our sense of reality is filtering everything out that isn't of immediate utility. That can be proven mathematically speaking. Mm-hmm. So when we think about the concept of death and people moving on, we're so attached to this world and we're afraid of what's going to happen with our consciousness ultimately in the next world. And people that say, oh, when you die now, that's the end of your consciousness. I'm sorry, but the latest science, there's no way you can prove that. As a matter of fact, the most recent would tell us that it's almost a certainty that your consciousness will continue.
Yep.
So from a biblical worldview, obviously, on this particular stage, when you say, oh, you die, you go to heaven, whatever. Of course, the Bible's going to say that. It's not going to say, oh, well, your consciousness is reducing to utility for you to,
ridiculous.
Operate in the hologram, blah, blah, blah. Like, ridiculous. It's going to give you, a blocked way of thinking that makes things very simple for you to understand, right? It's like, because even in a Hoffmanian world or a Hoffmanian universe, you still have the metaphysical reality of, we have built significant relationships with each other. Like this guy is dealing with the death of a family member, and in the song, the author is dealing with his own death and dealing with the struggle of wanting to maintain time here, while at the same time peacefully accepting the fact that he's not going to be here forever. And all of those things are part of the human experience, and we got to ask ourselves, well, why? Why do we? But it's interesting. In the song, he wanted to write one more song, wanted to do one more thing. Yeah. Right. And then,
that's a good point.
But then the universe, God, whatever, was like, yeah, bro. But if you write that one song,
there's always gonna
be another song to write.
$1 more.
It's your time to go, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I was listening to this crazy story from Sammy Gravano. It's probably one of the worst, most horrible stories I've ever seen, where the mafia decided that this guy had to die, but the guy was like a
Cosa Nostra.
Yeah.
That story really affected me too.
Yeah. The guy was like very, very intelligent, and he had a lot of layers of security. But anyway, Sammy the Bull figured out a way to get this guy by himself. Yeah. So they jammed him up and put him in the truck, and they're on the way to the site to go kill this dude. And the dude was like a stand-up dude, like.
Well, the lines of communication got crossed, so they weren't able to kill the guy like right away. They had to sit with him for hours. They would give him some coffee, and then they were able to see like how Cosa Nostra he was. Like, he was the epitome of what they do. And so to have to destroy that guy was very, very difficult for them.
Yeah, and it was tough because the guy was like, hey, close the window because he was all like tied up and stuff. He said, close the window because if the cops see you, then, they're going to pull you over. And then he said, if the cops see you, kill him because he's Cosa Nostra, And so the guy was like helping Sammy kill him. And then he had this one moment where the guy said, look, I got a lot of money. I can buy you out, whatever. And Sammy's like, don't do that. You've been great the whole time. And the guy goes, okay. And the guy goes, take off my shoes. Because his wife was afraid because he was in the mafia, and he's like, listen, I'm gonna die with my shoes off, because he used to take his shoes off before they go to bed. He was communicating to her that he was gonna die comfortably, like he wasn't gonna be afraid and all the rest of it. And they ended up killing the guy, and it you could tell it really affected Sammy.
All of them were massively affected by it.
Yeah, and it. But I think the main thing that bothered Sammy so much was this guy's willingness to accept death. And I think when you run into a person who's very willing to accept death before their time, like the guy didn't contract cancer, he could have lived another 20, 30 years, but he just got jammed up. It was his time to go, and he was able to accept it in, with honor, and he was able to like kind of stoically overcome it. So I thought that was the reason it affected him so much. Was it's kind of like the song. The song was the same way, where the guy was like accepting the death, but simultaneous to that, he was like, "Yo, give me one more thing," right? Like, and I think that's, Jesus, right? Was it John 11? He says, now is the come of the hour for the Son of Man to be glorified. And what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. For this hour I came into the world. Father, glorify your name. So that's John 11 or 12. He's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Then he's in the garden. He's like, if there's any way I can get out of this, that'd be great. And then he gets that moment where he's like, okay, I'm going to accept this. It's time to go. So I suspect that that's probably the way that it's going to happen. But I think about it a lot. But now that I've, doing so much work and being so immersed in studies on consciousness, that it's been a pretty interesting thing. And it's something where there's fear and no fear when it comes to death. But there's another category of curiosity of how's my consciousness going to work? And what are we going to see and all the rest of it? That's like another category of that. And it's really cool to hear these credentialed scientists who've been holed up in their little ivory towers talking about people having out-of-body experiences, being able to look outside of their bodies and being able to mathematize that. Whereas 10 years ago, people said that you just get an eye roll and people, well, okay, whatever. And now you've got these scientists taking it really seriously because they understand there are times that the physicalists understanding that your consciousness is completely tethered to your physical body. People are having less and less and less and less faith in that. And it's very fascinating to see the most brilliant people in the world, in my opinion, start to say, I mean, there's hundreds and thousands of these reports. What are we going to do? We're going to say all these people are crazy? It's like the UFO stuff. So the song was crazy. It was very emotional. Instrumentally, I don't know but everybody kept talking about the rhythm changes and all that.
It changed a lot.
And I do think they did that to make the song fresh, but I also think it represents just the journey of life itself.
Yep, I agree.
And I think instrumentally, especially at the end, they went major and increased the tempo, and it was like a feel-good type of thing. And that, I think, was a metaphor for the moment of like complete and total acceptance and then excitement to go before the throne of your father, as he said. So, damn. Really, really good stuff.
Is an old moon a full moon?
I'm sorry?
6 hours old, 13 days, 6 hours old moon. Yeah, so an old moon is an old moon a full moon? That's my question, because I'm not really sure by what I'm looking at here. Because old is my moon circle is complete. I'm assuming that it's the full. So it's a double. Okay. Yeah, this one was this is a 10 for me. I really like this one.
Yeah, this is actually a 10.5 for me. Really good song. Really, really good discussion. And we could have went a lot more places. Damn, really, really good selection tonight, guys. Really, really good. Shout out to Sarcast, shout out to Kai. Obviously,
shout out to our DJ, Controller of Minds.
Really, really, really good selection, bro. Really, really good selections.
You did control our minds with this song selection, right?
Yes.
We were forced to think about what you wanted us to talk about.
Yes, and have sweet lucid dreams, my man. Yeah. Thank you for staying up with us. Everybody else, have a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, all that jazz.